I'm Kelly Bethay. I have two mixed-race children, half Irish and half black.
My name is Kathy Weiss, and I have a 34-year-old daughter and a 27-year-old son, Jeremy, who is adopted.
My name is Shelley Paterick, and I'm the mother of two sons. They're my biological children.
My name is Frank Coyetti, and I have two children, a 6.5-year-old daughter named Lucy and a 3.5-year-old adopted son named Joseph.
My husband and I started dating when we were in our 30s, and we never really thought about the fact that we were a mixed-race couple until we decided to have children. My kids were going to face situations that I just didn't know how to navigate because I had never faced them myself. I remember just sobbing, and my husband taking me in his arms and telling me that it's not my job to teach my son to be a black man, that it's his job. That it's my job to teach my kids respect and kindness, just like every other mother in the world, regardless of what color my skin is.
We tried to have another child. There were issues with me that was not going to enable us to have another biological child. Social workers actually came out with a policy against transracial adoptions. There was a strong belief that white families couldn't provide what black children needed for their own identity. We did not live the black experience in America, and how do we provide him some connection to what the world sees him as, even if his personal experience is slightly different than that?
We wanted to adopt for many reasons. My wife was very much compelled. She has an adopted brother, and she worked at a nonprofit that worked with a lot of former foster youth. Talked about trying to have a biological child first, and then the next thing we were interested in doing is adopting. I was talking to a woman I met at a theater opening. She's African American. The subject of my kids came up because I love talking about them. She asked point blank, which is a really good question, are you going to allow some influence in his life from other African American people? I was kind of stumped for a second, and then realized I absolutely have to.
I was only about 20 when I had Jason. And I don't know if it was my immaturity, but I didn't really look at my kids as black or white or half. I just looked at them as my children. When I was going through my divorce, I was seeing a therapist at the time. She pointed out how important it was for the children to have regular time with their father and his side of the family so that they could learn the nonverbal communication skills of the black culture. So that was something I was always mindful of and made sure that that happened.
Consultation is just an admission that you don't know everything. It doesn't make me feel weird at all. It makes me a little sad to think that he's going to have some experiences that I can't entirely relate to.
My daughter's hair was definitely a learning experience. I have a niece who also has a mixed-race daughter. She actually has given me so much information, YouTube tutorials, Pinterest, learning what co-washing is, just making her realize how precious and amazing her hair is.
I don't think we would have thought about moving out of Philadelphia for a minute. Jeremy wouldn't feel out of place growing up. He would see other people that looked like him, family friends and personal friends and teachers. You know, we were always aware of that strong presence in his life. He would have the resources. He would go somewhere if he needed to figure things out.
My husband has had to teach me. I have taken on his thoughts on this, that you would rather know who's a racist, because now you know who to stay away from. It's the ones who aren't saying it, but are thinking it, are the ones that are the real issues.
When Jeremy was a very young child, strangers would come up to us and say, "Oh, he's going to be a great ball player, isn't he?" At some point I would say, why? Because he's black? At other points I just got fed up with it and said, no, he's actually going to be a brain surgeon. It is stunning to me what comes out of people's mouths, and I am still not quiet about it.
I recall this one time I went to look at a townhouse. When I went in to view it with the realtor, a person who lived there came in, and he was like saying, oh, this is a great complex and you'll like living here, and we don't have any, and he used the N-word, that live here. I'm gonna get choked up. And I said, well, I will not be renting here because I have two half-black children and it would make me nervous to have them here with somebody that thinks that way. Some white people just let it roll off. But when you have children, you don't just let it slide.
You teach your kids tact and you teach your kids that ignorance is everywhere. And unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to save them from everything.
It has been very important for me to talk to Jeremy. He had one incident where somebody said something to him, I think when he was around 11 or 12, and he never told us, and dealt with it probably by talking to his friends. I felt like I had failed him. His friends maybe were a better resource. I felt like, why can't he talk to me about this?
You have to teach and you have to talk to your kids about police brutality. You have to talk to your kids about racist undertones. I would rather have the conversation before anybody else has it with her so that she understands where we stand.
The interesting thing that I think I've observed about race, I have a privilege to not be cognizant of it, and others do not. I have to be empathetic to my son in that regard. The issues that Joseph may face terrifies me. Someday, I'm gonna have to have a real tough conversation. Now, I just want him to be like the happiest 3.5-year-old kid out there.
My husband being the black parent, he had talks with them. But a few times when they came home and told me they had been called a racial name, it really upset me. But then when they told me how they handled it, I was so proud of them. I knew that they were equipped and strong to handle it.
Jeremy definitely had identity issues. I don't think it was all smooth sailing and everything's been, leave it to Beaver nice for him. He had to figure out what it meant to be a black man in America with a white family and a Jewish background, because he walks into a room and the narrative is written. He's always struggling with his own definition against a public definition is of him.
So my hope for the future is that, we start to evolve as a nation.
When you see children playing together, they may be cognizant of the difference in the way that they look, but I don't think there is any preconceived notion. I think that racism is a learned behavior.
My hope for my children is that they grow up and they learn to be kind and they learn to be respectful.
Jeremy is trying to make it in the world of music right now. I think he has great talent, but I am a party of one with a little bit of bias.
I just want them to feel safe and feel loved and secure in who they are.
I hope that my children are successful and enjoy their lives and have fun.